yeah. So
I would encourage people to go through the Create Space route. As a small publisher myself, I do know that's a nice little difference. And the people who do this and write a book and they try to make a little bit of money out of it. I've heard a number of people who, almost in a sniping kind of way, will criticize someone for thinking, oh, well, they're only in this for the money. And all I can think of is that is the most short-sighted perspective I can possibly imagine, especially if someone decides to devote themselves to this topic rather than go about it as a dilettante. Then you've got to find a way to make it financially work. And you, Niara, deserve to make everything that you can make on this. This is a very excellent, courageous book. Is it available as an ebook, by the way?
It's available as a Kindle edition, yeah.
Yeah, that's an ebook. So excellent. So if you have an e-reader, then you can get it in that way as well. So excellent. And again, I want to just emphasize this is a nicely written book. And I can't say that about every new book in the alternative field that I read. So it's really refreshing to see someone who knows what they're doing with the word processor.
Yeah, thanks.
It's gratifying for me to read that.
Time as an English major paid off.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, it did. So we've got a little bit of time left, and I guess we've talked about some of the bizarre and out of the ordinary experiences you've had from the time that you were a little girl, from the time that these apparent non-humans were manipulating your sexuality, to the time that you're in the Air Force. Now, here's an interesting thing. So you're in the Air Force, you're at Tonopah, and they're basically showing you a display of what appear to be flying saucers or UFOs. Now, the implication is, are these ours or not ours? Maybe you don't have an answer to that, but apparently the equipment that you were using was just not up to spec in terms of tracking these UFOs.
No, not at all. You have to track an aircraft for at least 5 minutes for it to be considered a kill with the surface-to-air missile radar. And
right, there was just no way you guys could do that.
No,
with the technology of 1980. So that's interesting. I'll tell you a story. This actually came to me from a Gulf War veteran that I interviewed a number of years ago. He had been in Operation Desert Shield. This is in 1990. So he was stationed, he was a tank commander. He was in the Iraq desert. Before the war started, there were American units that were in the Iraq desert. And he was part of, I think he said Air Defense Command. It sounds crazy to me, but that's what he said he was in. And he said to me that his unit was told, or maybe his unit was told by Air Defense Command, that might have been it, to observe a certain portion of the sky in the next few days and observe. And he said, and sure enough, in the next couple of days, we saw, UFOs. I don't know what else you could describe them as. And he said, the thing is, had we tried to shoot them out of the sky, he said we would have had no chance. I mean, these things were so vastly beyond anything that we knew how to deal with. And it sounds very similar. And this is a story that I very seldom repeat. I don't think it's been out there, but it's very much in line with what you're describing, except he didn't go through the whole memory wipe thing, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But they went and messed with you. So I guess my question for you is, in thinking of all of these, first of all, have you had continuing experiences over the past few decades that you would say are unusual?
Yeah, I have. I was living in Auburn, California as recently as like the late 1990s, and I was still waking up with strange bruises. I woke up with 3 tiny, looked like baby finger bruises on the inside of my thigh one morning, and that was pretty strange. So, I still wake up with a bruise here and there, but the experiences seem to have shifted, and that's why I mention, I put these little things throughout my book, and I call them interacts.
Yeah.
And these memories are memories that are extremely vivid for me. They carry a powerful emotional charge, and they seem to be memories of living a different life on a different planet, which I identify as Lyra. And then I had this incredible experience. I mean, every so often, you remember Luke Skywalker when he was flying over the Death Star and Ben Kenobi was talking in his head with telepathy.
Yeah.
And he tapped the side of his helmet and think, gosh, Ben is dead. I can't be hearing Ben. Well, it was kind of like that for me for a long time. I would get these messages and it would be like words. And I'd think, what is this? Where is it coming from? And then if it really wanted to get my attention, it would keep putting the same idea in there over and over. And then finally, I went down and I just kind of confronted this whole thing at the American River confluence near Auburn. And I sat down there by the rushing water and I said, okay, are you guys really there? Are you like really talking to me? Yes, we're really talking to you.
It just came back that clearly.
It came that clear, and it's so fast that I barely get the question formed, and I barely get the first word of the question out of my mouth before the answer is coming back. And it's been very powerful, and I remember thinking, wow, so I could just check in with you guys, and I don't have to make any more stupid human mistakes in my life, right? And they said, no, that's not why you're here. We're here. You have to live your own life and bungle through. But we are here to teach you and to try to get you to look at what's important, what we think is important. And they have been true to that all this time. And they are not the Greys, and they are beings that they look very human, but they have bluish skin. And they're very loving people, very connected to the earth in the same way that Native Americans are. And I know people are going to say, oh, she's talking about the movie Avatar. But James Cameron, who made the movie, he made it from a dream that he had 20 years before about a planet and blue people and so on and so forth. So did he make a movie, or did he have a memory of this same place?
Is he working off? So when you have a vision of these people who are blue, you're seeing this in a dream form, or are you seeing this in a waking imagination form, or it's just coming to you somehow?
It's like waking memory. It's like waking memory. And the first one that happened, and see, I have a theory about this. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of a microcosm going to a macrocosm.
I think that I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe you could explain it.
Okay, so when we're, as an individual human being, if we're trying to remember something, usually memory is assisted by contextual people, places, and situations. It brings up things in your memory. And
Sure.
I think that all of us as individual humans are part of a larger body of collective humanity. And with all the things going on the planet right now that may be strangely reminiscent of the last days of Atlantis, that I think that's why so many people now are claiming to have memories surface of Atlantis and Lemuria. Because the contextual energy and things that are going on planet Earth right now are very similar to those end times of that civilization long ago. And if you believe in reincarnation at all, then we could be the same people coming back trying to work this through in a better way than happened in Atlantis.
Okay. Well, this also leads into what I think is a very spiritual element of your book and of your thought. And I would like to explore that in the time we have left. But even first, before that, I guess I would like to ask you, based on your experiences and your assessment of the situation at this point, what would you say is actually going on in terms of interaction with humanity by non-humans? So, like, who's here? Are there discernible agendas that you can get a bead on? What do you think is the interaction of various human groups with all of this? I mean, how do you see the whole thing is kind of fitting together? Who are the players?
Who are the players? That's a good question. I think that there is like a galactic federation of positive beings out there that are kind of watching the situation here and thinking, wow, how can we help without really interfering with their necessary growth process? Because humanity is really in a crucible right now that is going to force us to either grow and evolve, or we're all going to go down. And I don't want us going down. I think humanity has incredible potential that they're only barely beginning to realize. And I really put this in my book. This is probably one of the most important things I put in my book. The only war going on this planet is a war against the expansion of consciousness, and every other thing that we see is a symptom of that, because we're being attacked by fluoride in the water. All kinds of food and water additives are attacking the brain in general, and the pineal gland in specific. And the pineal gland is the seat of the soul in the human body. Mm-hmm. And so they do not want that gland of enlightenment to turn on, because once humanity becomes enlightened on a collective scale, we can change the whole game of this planet. If you've watched What the Bleep Do We Know, or if you've read Michael Talbot's The Holographic Universe, you realize that what we hold in our consciousness is what we see in the world around us. And these beings, whether you want to call them Illuminati, or whether you want to call them archons or extra dimensionals or whatever, they have come here and they have been managing our consciousness down through the ages to create a version of reality from it that works for them and keeps us subject to them. So in the film The Matrix, the cables were actually attached to the human body, and the human body was used as a battery to feed this huge virtual reality net into which all human beings were hooked into. Right. But in our world, we don't have the cables hooked to our body, but we have newspaper and with television and religious indoctrination and political indoctrination and all of this stuff. And what I want people to realize is if I can just wake them up to all the ways they've been indoctrinated, then we can pull our energy out of those indoctrination programs, and then we have all this energy that we can use collectively to make a better world. But we have got to learn to put our differences aside. And I'm not saying that people have to give up who they are. I'm just saying that they need to learn to agree to disagree with other people in a friendly manner.
Yeah, I think that's these are all excellent points, of course, and you know that I agree in the sense that the great struggle of our era is a struggle between, we can put it a number of ways, but the struggle between totalitarian control and freedom. And we can include as part of that freedom higher consciousness and an awareness of ourselves in a more mature way, in a more mature phase of our existence, I guess, which I think we need to move to. I guess my question would be, in terms of this control group that is keeping human consciousness down. Certainly, there's a human elite that's involved in doing this. Do you think that there's a non-human elite also that's involved in doing this?
Yeah, I think there could be. I
mean, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you want to say I don't know, that's perfectly fine. I just didn't know if you had an opinion.
I do have an opinion. One of the things when I was writing my book, particularly part 3 and part of part 2, I've been noticing down through the decades from like the Walter Cronkite era to the current era, and there's all kinds of stuff going on TV, movies, and television right now that people would have been outraged at back in the Walter Cronkite era. They would just be absolutely outraged, but now they accept it. And there's just so much extremity and intensity and, I hate to say it, but like trailer trash talk, on the airwaves.
Well, I mean,
now.
It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. That's what the whole culture has devolved to.
Yeah, there's this bickering and fighting, and it's all drama,
it's become dumbed down, and I think we can fairly say deliberately so. When you look at the Cronkite era, I enjoy watching some classic Alfred Hitchcock movies from late 50s and early 60s. To me, that's American civilization at its absolute peak. Well-dressed people, intelligent, sophisticated, respectful. That's all gone.
Yeah,
that's just all gone. Now we wear sweatpants and sneakers and. Exactly. So
hanging out and everything. So,
right.
I know. So anyway, just trying to, get people to understand the devolution that's happened in the last 20, 30, 50 years, and what we've lost and what we need to get back. I think that it's really, really important. And I think there's so much propaganda being put out now from government and everything else like that. It's like I wrote a chapter in the book called Reclaiming Freedom, People need to understand that freedom is inherent to who they are. It is not something that can be granted or taken away by the state.
Right. Right, and I like that aspect of the book. It's really like you've got two books in here. You know, you've got the book that really deals with your personal journey, but you have a lot don't about these relevant issues. And I'm glad you did that. But it really is like it's a separate. Yeah. I don't want to say totally separate because it's all related, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, the part 1 and part 2 of the book really help people understand my intense passion to make this world a better place, and to try to give them some of these awakenings and insights that I've had as a result of taking this journey through life.
Niara, have you spoken with other more recent military abductees or other people who've gone through comparable experiences as yourself? I mean, do you get a sense that this is still going on? There's a lot of whistleblowers out there who make claims, and I just want to know if you've spoken to them and what your assessment is.
I think it is still going on, and I have spoken to many of them, and the thing is the techniques have become more refined and more diabolical because they're using brain entrainment technology, like sound and frequency, to try to use that to program people. And if they combine that with trauma, then they get a level of conditioning that is probably harder to break. Describe the trauma-based conditioning, if you would. We have a few minutes left, and I really think it's important. Yeah. Trauma-based mind control conditioning is where a state of extreme trauma is induced in a subject, because when you're in that state of trauma, you switch into a very easily programmable mode. And so they induce the trauma, they insert the program they want to insert, and you have the scarring on the brain, but because they've inserted maybe like a keyword to bring out a certain personality, this is for people that are messed with as children, because when you're traumatized as a child, then you can fracture into several different alternate personalities. They call it now dissociative identity disorder, and because it's dissociative. So people separate into personalities, or if they're programmed later in life, then someone could call them and just say a keyword into the phone, and suddenly you've triggered that other personality, or that alter, as it's called. Written about in the book The Manchurian Candidate back in the 50s, and portrayed accurately in both of the versions of that movie from the early 1960s and then later in the 90s. That type of thing was very accurately portrayed. Yeah. And it really has its roots in Project Paperclip after World War II. Our country didn't want the Russians to get a hold of the German scientists from the Third Reich, so they brought them over here, scrubbed up their profiles, gave them American-sounding names in many cases, and put them to work for our government. And I really believe that these Nazis, who were still Nazi Party, still into that, I believe that was the beginning of some subversion of our government from within. Yeah, I think you're in large company on that belief set as well. Yeah. I think the important thing here that you're pointing out, and it cannot be stressed enough, is that the human mind and human memory can absolutely be managed and controlled to an extent that I think would shock a lot of people who don't really spend much time thinking about this. And not only that it can be controlled, but that programs within the U.S. military, we know. I mean, everyone's heard of MK Ultra, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. These programs have existed at least in a full-flowered form since the 1950s. So, over half a century now. Right. So the capability and the technology has only gotten better. So you're talking about contemporary techniques of using sound, like acoustic entrainment, or Well, acoustic entrainment. I'm not going to mention the name of the program on the air because I don't want to do any damage to them or anything. But there is a program of brainwave technology out there that people use for positive things. And the person who made that brainwave technology, the founder, creator of it, he said that for the last level of that program, he actually had a friend take him into a CIA laboratory to record the last level, because they had the greatest, latest technology for brainwave entrainment in that laboratory.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned at one point in the book that I was very intrigued by in terms of managing memory is that you speculated, it seemed like it was a speculation, of the ability to kind of change our brain waves from like alpha to beta to theta and delta. In other words, because we have a certain type of brain wave that we use in normal waking consciousness, another in deep sleep, and another in REM sleep.
Right.
And that by modifying, if that ability exists to modify our brain waves, that would very much affect our ability to remember properly an experience that we're having, Well,
it could make it more dreamlike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the ETs also use that. They also manipulate brain waves. And,
sure.
And it's kind of how they accomplish some of what they do as well. So I'm guessing there has probably been a little technology or information transfer between at least some groups of Greys in our military on that.
Right. I mean, all with the purpose of promoting confusion in the subject so that they're not really able to remember correctly. All of that makes sense. So I'd like you to finish up by talking about some of the more spiritual insights you got. One thing that you said that I thought was very, very apropos was you said, it gives you, I'm paraphrasing here, but that one gets a lot more strength in fighting injustice if we realize that we have this non-physical aspect to our being, that we're more than just a bag of bones and wrapped in some skin.
Right, yeah. I think that's absolutely true. And I urge people in the book to study about near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences so that they can understand that they really are not their body. They just inhabit it. And it's really, where I was coming from, because in order to write this book, I put a lot of information in it. A lot of information is out there now. And I'm talking about some sensitive things that happened to me in the military. And so in order to write the book, I kind of had to make peace with my own mortality, in case somebody got pissed off for me to write this book. So I kind of did that,
right.
And I'm still here. But I have to say that writing the book and making this statement and getting beyond the fear to get the statement out has brought me, I wouldn't say I'm completely at peace, but I am way more at peace than I used to be.
It's empowering, though, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
You find your voice, and I understand this because we're really living the same type of a life, and you find strength. And I would just encourage anyone listening right now who feels that they have an important story to tell, or if they're struggling to find their story, really find a way to put it down, because even if you never publish it as a book, it almost doesn't matter. You can publish it as a book, but what you're really doing is you're battling. It's your own titanic battle, and by getting that story down, you're empowering yourself, and I think you'll find strength inside yourself that you never knew. And then if you do go public, that's a scary thing to do, but you end up finding that strength. It's there. It's inside you all along. And Niara, that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, it pretty much is. And I would encourage everybody that's had experiences to create a timeline, like from birth to where they are currently, and then start writing down on that timeline at the appropriate places little events that have happened that they're trying to sort out, and then start to write it all down. Because when they write it down, more things are going to come out in their memory and more dots will connect. And it doesn't matter if you're going to publish it as a book or just share it with a good friend. There's going to be healing for you in that. It's
really, really good advice. Mm-hmm. Well, we're at the top of the hour. We've actually gone through our interview, Niara.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you. It's been wonderful. And I know, I've just gleaned the chat room, but people really are enjoying this, and I've gotten some private communications that are raving about everything you've had to say. I really feel that you've gotten to you've put yourself in a position where you're going to continue to be an inspiration for a lot of people out there. Absolutely. I know people knew about you before, but this book is really going to cement you into a certain position. And like it or not, you're going to be in a position where a lot of people are going to be looking to you for leadership and for insight. But I think that you're absolutely up to it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm working very hard to make myself be ready for that.
Well, got to clean up the house in the meantime, right?
Yeah. Still trying to clean up 4 years of mess here. So.
Well, I want to encourage people to visit the website of Niara Isley, her book, Facing the Shadow, Embracing the Light. That's the website as well, facingtheshadow.embracingthelight.com. Go there, check it out. She's got a Facebook page. There's a lot there, and that's all we wrote for tonight.